if you are facing a problem to check the checkbox or uncheck the checkbox using the Selenium WebDriver, and that is because if you use checkbox.isselected, it's always returning false or it's always returning true irrespective of the checkbox state. Then this video is for you. I'm going to address the problem and I'm going to tell you how to resolve the problem as well. So on my screen you can see a web page in which I have different checkboxes. So there are two types of checkboxes here. So one is the main checkbox. If this checkbox is checked, all the checkboxes below it gets checked. It's like a select all. So if I uncheck this, all the checkbox below it gets unchecked, which is unselect all. So these are actually two different types of checkbox. If you see the first one, so this one, basically this checkbox is with the div tag, and yeah, it's also having different attributes in it. So when I use checkbox.isselected on this checkbox, it always returns true. Ideally, if the checkbox is unchecked, then it should return false, and if the checkbox is checked, then it should return true. That is, checkbox.isselected should return true, but that's not happening. So it always returns a false, which is the issue. I think you are also facing the same issue. So, but when it comes to the child elements, like you can see tomato, mustard, lettuce, sprouts. So here the case is different, and the way these tags looks are also different. If you see here, it has input tag but not the div tag, and it's having very less attributes also. But if I use checkbox.isselected on this type of checkboxes, it's working fine. So according to my observation, checkbox.isselected is working fine on the elements having tags input, but not on the other tags. So this is one observation you can make note of. And going to the problem and solution. So just to demonstrate whatever I have told you, and after that I'll come to the solution part. So this is the XPath to the select all, like all condiments, which selects the or unselects all the below checkboxes. So as I told that is selected is not working on this checkbox, so I am going to reproduce the issue on this checkbox. So I have used this XPath. So let me explain this program. So first one is nothing but initiating the Chrome driver and then navigating to the URL I have shown you. Then I'm creating WebElement for the checkbox, whatever I told you just now. So after that, I'm using this method checkbox is selected. So it will return the false if the checkbox is unchecked. So based on that, I'm going into the checkbox and performing an operation. And next one is I'm checking if checkbox is already selected. As we are already clicking on the checkbox, it should be already checked and it should go inside this if, and it should uncheck the checkbox, but that's not happening. I'm going to show you that, then it will be very much clear to you. So it's launching the application, you see, and since I kept breakpoint, it stopped here. So on the screen you can see this checkbox is unchecked. Sorry, I by mistake clicked, so it got checked. So now it's unchecked. So it returned false, so which is true since the checkbox is not selected, it returned false. not of false is true, and it's going to click. So once it clicks, all the checkbox is checked, and now it entered the another if block where we're checking checkbox.isselected. Since this checkbox is already selected, it should return the true, and it should click on the checkbox, but it's not happening. You see, yeah, it's not happening. So it's always returning the false. So that is the issue here. So let's resolve this. So I'm inspecting this element. So when I inspect element here, there are different attributes here. So similar to my case, you are also having multiple attributes in your case, and there should be one particular attribute at least which tells whether the checkbox is checked or not. In my case, the attribute is area checked is the attribute. So you can see it's true. It's true because the checkbox is already checked. If I set it to uncheck, then you can see this area checked attribute change it to false. So you should look for such attribute. In your case, there should be some attribute which is indicating about the state of the checkbox. So if you use that attribute, you can overcome this. So now what I'm going to do is, you can see I have already found the web element using the find element and following the XPath of this checkbox. Now let us get the attribute. Okay, I'll name it as checkbox status. So from this checkbox, you have to use get attribute. You can find the get attribute method which can be used, and you have to give which attribute you want to get. There are many attributes. You can see class, on click, on key down, and area checked. So here we need area checked attribute, which is a string which returns the string. So I have assigned to string here. I'm going to print here the checkbox status is, and so now in the if block I'll modify accordingly. So since it's a string, I should use dot equals. By default it's unchecked, so I'm using false. Once we use the URL, it's by default unchecked, so it should be false. Then it will go inside the checkbox and click, which will check the checkbox. Okay, and then I'll verify if it's true. Because the checkbox is checked now, it will become true. Then we should be able to click on that checkbox, which will uncheck that one. So let us check. So whatever I told is correct or not. So let me keep this. Actually, I have used that get attribute. So I should get attribute once the checkbox is checked. Then only this checkbox data string gets updated. So once a checkbox is checked, again we are getting the attribute. So that should be updated to true. So then we are going to the if block. Yes, now that's fine. So now let me run this program once again, step by step. So sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Let me run once again. So it's launching the application and it came here. So you see the print statement what we kept here, it's printed here, is telling checkbox status is false based on the attribute. Yes. So now since checkbox status is false, it should go inside and click on that, which would check the checkbox. You can see it has checked the checkbox. Now the checkbox status, if we get that, it should be true. So the attribute area checked will be true now. Yes, you can see it's true and it's going inside that if block. And if I run this now, it should uncheck everything. Unchecked everything. So the problem is solved. Similarly, you can solve your problem. Look for that attribute which is changing when a checkbox is checked or unchecked. So as I told that checkbox.isselected is not working on all the tags. I think that since you are watching this video, that's your problem. I hope this has solved your problem. Thank you very much.
If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and please do subscribe for more videos.